Hi everybody and welcome to Golden Hour, a show about living your best life and finding joy. Today I want to talk to you about how I lost 25 pounds and 5 inches effortlessly. If you'd like to learn how to lose weight easily, keep watching. In last week's episode, I talked about my life and being naturally thin and my struggles with weight loss as I got older. At the highest point, several years ago, I got up to 273. Eventually, I got that down into the 240s, and then it got way up last summer again, all the way up to 266.5 pounds. And everyone kept telling me I still looked good. Here's a photo of me eating a donut last spring. And I thought that I was treating myself by having that donut, but I was really killing myself having that donut. And here I am a year later, 25 pounds thinner. It didn't take me the year to lose that. I'll explain that in a minute. But here I am, 25 pounds thinner, 5 inches off my waist. I haven't had a cookie or a donut or anything like that in nearly 11 months. And I'm much healthier. I was able to run up my stairs a few months ago for the first time in a decade. The inflammation on my joints is down. My skin looks, my skin on my face was never a problem, but the skin on my hands has gotten smoother. Skin has gotten tighter, and I'm overall healthier. My cognitive functioning is much better. And what is that all from? It's all from intermittent fasting. I became fascinated by it after I heard Dr. Rhonda Patrick speak on Joe Rogan's podcast. And I thank Joe Rogan for saving my life. I don't know if he'll ever see this episode, but thank you, Joe Rogan, for making me see it for what it was. And it's not that I was ever lazy. I did everything in my power to try to lose the weight, but I didn't have the right information. So one of the things we're always told is to exercise more. Walk 3 times a week for 30 minutes. Well, what will that really do you? Depending on how much you weigh and how fast you walk, walking on average will burn between 90 to 200 calories in a half hour. And so 3 times a week, you'll burn 600 calories. Will take anywhere from 5 to 10 weeks to lose a pound. Now, I'm not saying don't exercise. It's good for cardio health. It's good for the rest of your body, and it's wonderful to exercise. But that is not what's going to bring you weight loss. Listening to Joe Rogan and Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and she talked about Dr. Sansone and his research. And what they found is that even in as little as a 12-12 time-restricted diet, where you do all of your feeding in 12 hours and you fast for 12, they've seen results. They found that the best feeding window is 9 to 10 hours. So that would be 14 to 15 hours of fasting for optimum results from intermittent fasting. After watching that prompted me to start watching Dr. Attia, who's a cancer doctor who's done research on IF, and also Dr. Fung, who's a nephrologist who has cured people of their type 2 diabetes with intermittent fasting. They're fascinating, and I will put links below. And the final person that I really started to listen to was Dr. Berg, who was a chiropractor turned nutritionist who speaks about the benefits of intermittent fasting along with keto. Now, I don't do a keto diet. I do a moderate carb diet. How did I start this, and what results did I find? Things that Dr. Rhonda Patrick states is that it's got to be a complete water fast, that even black coffee or black tea or supplements will start the digestive process, and that'll break a fast. Dr. Fung and Dr. Berg and Dr. Attia and even Thomas DeLauer, who's a fitness expert, they all tend to disagree a little bit on that part, But I've stuck with a complete water fast, and that has worked for me, and it makes sense. And if you go through it and you listen to Dr. Patrick and also Dr. Panda, you'll see that they talk about the circadian rhythm and how many hours it takes the body to metabolize food. So really, it's not till you get to like the 13th hour that you're really devoid of any of the food and you've used most of it, and you're ready to start fat burning. So I started with a 12-12 fast, which was very easy because if you're sleeping 8 hours a day, you're naturally fasting right there for 8 hours. If you stop eating 2 hours for bed and you get up and you don't eat for 2 hours, you have managed to do a 12-hour fast. Really quickly, I switched that to 14 hours. Which I find very simple. You get up, you don't eat for 4 hours. It's really not that hard. Ultimately, I got to 16, 18, I've done 19, and I've done 20 hours. But I tend to really stick in that 14 to 16 hour range. That seems to work for me. I cut out all sugar. I cut out all white flour. I cut out most pasta and bread. I would eat it occasionally. I've also added dark chocolate, which is fine if you get chocolate with no added sugar, if you need a treat. And you learn to make some treats with almond flour and stevia. But my suggestion to you is go several months with no sweet food, because even things that have stevia in them, even though they don't technically raise your insulin level, they may fuel your craving for sugar. And that's not a good thing. The other thing you really need to be careful with is to get rid of diet soda. Aspartame spikes insulin. Diet sodas can spike insulin, and they can also make you crave sugar. So I never understood that. I was drinking a lot of diet soda, a few times a week, and I think that was hurting too. Another thing I started to do was I do a walk a mile program by Leslie Sansone, which is really good. It's about a 20-minute program, very easy to do in the comfort of your own home. I was losing in the beginning 4 to 5 pounds a week. You may find that you'll lose faster if you already have bad habits, but I came into this already a vegetarian, already not eating a ton of sugar, already not drinking wine or soda. So I came into this with very few bad habits and very little to cut out. So the weight loss has been slower for me. After a while, it dropped down to about 2 pounds a month, and I'm a little bit at a standstill now, but I think that's because I've added back some bread and pasta into my diet, and I'm gonna have to work with that. I've also added dark chocolate, which is fine if you get chocolate with no added sugar. So what are the benefits of intermittent fasting? Well, to put it simply as I can put it in my understanding, that intermittent fasting starts fat burning by lowering insulin levels and increasing growth hormone levels. If you are in a fasted state, your body then has to look for food stores. So if you're constantly bombarding your body with food, with these mini meals, it never has to go back in and start burning the fat that you're already storing. What happens when we eat is our body breaks down the food, and ultimately it becomes glycogen, which is stored in the liver or the muscle. But because there's not a lot of room to store this glycogen, the body will then turn that into fat, which gets deposited throughout the body as well in the liver, and there's virtually no end to how much fat your body can store. It isn't until you get into a fasted state that your body can go in to where these fat stores are, pull them out, and start burning them for fuel. You are either in a fed state or a fasted state. In a fed state, you're going to store fat. In a fasted state, you're going to burn fat for fuel. Think of it this way. Think of like a boat that has a reserve tank of fuel. It's not going to go to that reserve tank of fuel until the first tank either empties or malfunctions. Well, that's how your body is. As long as you're fueling it, It's not going to use those reserves you have. I used to always kid people and say, oh, don't worry about me not being able to eat anything because you don't have any vegetarian food. I could live off myself for years. And it was a joke, but I never realized just how true it was. No, I couldn't live off myself for years, but I certainly could live off myself for weeks if I wanted to do an extended fast. So the key with intermittent fasting is getting your body to a point where it starts to break down the fuel that is stored, the fat that is stored as fuel. Now, it doesn't mean that during that 9 or 10 hour window of eating, you just eat anything you want, 8,000 calories. It doesn't mean that at all. In fact, it's recommended that in between your meals, during your eating window, you still put a few hours between them to give your body a chance for the insulin levels to drop. Let's say, for sake of argument, you're doing a 16-8 fast. You're eating for 8 hours, you're fasting for 16 hours. You have your first meal of the day at noon, and you eat your last meal of the day at 8. You try very hard not to eat in between. And if you do, you try to eat maybe that 4 hour point in between. Maybe eat something at 4, very light, and then again at 8. And that gives you 2 periods of 4 hour fasting throughout the day, which will also help. And then a 16 hour longer fast. In fact, they suggest that if you are going to snack, add the snack to your meal. So the time in between your meals is stretched and your insulin level will go down. And so you'll also burn some fat between those 2 meals. And this is how I very easily took off the 25 pounds. I never think of how many calories. I never think that, oh, I can't eat that. I just think of the times I'm eating, and I have not skipped one day of intermittent fasting since the beginning of September 2018, and it is now July 5th, 2019. I've done IF every day. It has not gotten in the way of my life in any way. If I go out to friends and we eat as late as 10, then I make sure I don't eat until 12 the next day so that I have a 14-hour fast. You work it out. You work out the hours. I don't have the whole list, but one of the things Dr. Jason Fung always says is this is a very inexpensive weight loss program. You don't have to pay to do IF. Your groceries will go down with IF. You can vacation with IF. You could be young, you could be old, you could be male, you could be female with IF. You don't need any extra equipment to do it. It's just a very easy way of life that I plan to do forever. I don't think I'm ever going to get off this because the way you feel is incredible. Your skin just is remarkable on IF. Your cognitive ability is remarkable. Your inflammation markers go down on IF. So that first thing, what benefit of IF was that it increases fat burning. And there's so many more benefits than one I'm going to give you. I'm just going to give you a couple. So fat burning is number 1. It does slow down the aging process. Has to do with growth hormone and inflammation markers, etc. But again, I'm not going to go into the scientific part of it. It benefits your skin because your body is taking a break from the digestive process. And so people that have had problems with acne and rosacea and dry skin have all found to benefit from IF. It also reduces inflammation. It helps people with rheumatoid arthritis and other conditions. Dr. Berg goes through these conditions. If you go to his website and you just type in what condition it is you have, he'll tell you what foods to avoid. He'll tell you all about it. So it improves brain health. It has been proven to help cognitive ability, improves brain function and mood, has even helped people with depression and anxiety. So right now you're thinking, I can never do that. How can I not eat for 14 hours a day? Well, if you think about it, we haven't always eaten this way. Back in the 70s, this is how people ate. They got up at 7 in the morning. They ate lunch at 12. We weren't given a snack at school when we were in the upper grades. Maybe as babies, So they would get up, they would eat breakfast at 7 or 8, they would eat lunch at 12, they would eat dinner at 5, and maybe they would have a snack at 7. And then they didn't eat again till the next morning at 7. So very naturally they went 12 hours of fasting. So this has been done for years, and we're just starting to rediscover it now. We were sold a bill of goods about eating mini meals and eating lots of grains, and now we're being told that it's more healthy to give your body a rest from eating. So I hope that you give intermittent fasting a chance. It is a lifestyle. It is long-term weight loss. It's easy to maintain. It's something that you do for your health. So instead of treating yourself with that donut like I treated myself last year, treat yourself by not eating and see how much healthier you feel. Stick around and you'll see where I had some fun last week. Hi everybody, hope you had a wonderful week. Today I chose to have some fun at a beautiful farm with several acres of lavender plants, and it's called Lavender Pond Farm. I hope you enjoyed that video of where I had some fun. If this video helped you in any way, click subscribe, click on the bell so you'll get notifications, like,